Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is our Year to Shine, and today I'm going to talk about a new book that I have chosen for the next book to talk about on the channel. And you will recognize the authors because I've mentioned both of them, and we are even doing something with one of them all year long this year. It's a book by Louise Haye and Cheryl Richardson, and it is not You Can Heal Your Life, it's called You Can Create an Exceptional Life. And I was looking at the copyright date of it. It's from 2011 originally, and then I peeked at Cheryl's Art of Extreme Self-Care Challenge book that we've been doing all year. And that was actually written prior to this book, which surprises me because I will tell you a couple things about this book. First of all, I picked up this book at a yard sale over the summer when my dad was visiting. He loves to go to yard sales, so we were just going around and we happened upon this one guy who had all these amazing books, like right up my alley. I picked up a whole bunch and they were all free. He just was wanting to pass them along, and so I saw this one and I thought, well, I haven't read that one, so I'll pick it up. So it came to me for free. Also, in the last month, I went to get my car inspected and I grabbed it and brought it along, not necessarily like thinking about it as the next book for the channel, but just wanting to kind of look at it because I hadn't yet. And in that hour and a half or so that I was there, I read almost the entire book. So it's small, you know, it's thin, and it's very conversational. It's written mainly by Cheryl, and she's talking about she's basically like interviewing Louise and then talking about implementing some of the things that Louise has to say. And there's about 35 years in between their ages. I guess I never really thought about that until I was really in, and actually Louise is now since passed on, but so Cheryl was 51 at the time and Louise Haye was 84 at the time. And if you don't know who Louise Haye is, she is one of the original sort of self-help New Thought people out there. She also started Hay House Publishing, and many books, including this one, and I think Cheryl's Extreme Self-Care book, were published through her. And of course, she's really good friends with Dr. Dyer, who's since on the other side as well. But just a remarkable person. She also was big in the AIDS movement early on in the 80s, and there's a bit of discussion in this book about it. And I've mentioned before also there's a movie, You Can Heal Your Life, where it's similar to the You Can Heal Your Life book, but there's interviews with other people that are Hay House people. And so there's some crossover. If you've seen the movie and then you read this book, you would recognize some of the things that Louise says in interviews in the movie as well as here with Cheryl. And so it's a very easy read. I think that I'm not going to put a time limit on it, you know, as far as like cramming it into a month, but I did sit down in my journal and I've come up with a very good substantial list of topics amongst the things that are discussed in here. And it's perfect for this channel because this channel is based on Sarah Ban Breathnach's book and her principles: joy, harmony, beauty, order, simplicity, and gratitude. And all of those interwoven principles of life are included in this book. And there'll be some crossover with things that we read about and talked about earlier this year in other books too. So I see it as a really good tie-in with the channel. Of course, it's like yellow like the sun too for shining, and like my logo on the channel this year. So I think it's going to be great. I want to read a couple things about it. I'll read the back of the book here. So You Can Create an Exceptional Life, it's called. For countless people around the world, the words of Louise Haye have served as a beacon, leading them out of the darkness of despair and into the light of better life. Cheryl Richardson is one of the many individuals whom Louise has greatly influenced, before going on to become a best-selling author herself. Yeah. So what happens when these two combine their collective wisdom into one book? As Louise and Cheryl engage in a series of empowering and intimate conversations, you'll feel as if you're simultaneously having lunch with your best friends and also attending a master class put on by two leaders of the self-empowerment movement. These amazing women are living proof that the spiritual principles they discuss in these pages really work. As you read, you'll discover that you too have the ability to create an exceptional life. And so this was written in 2000, or it was published in 2011. And in 2013 at the I Can Do It Hay House conference, I went to the New York City one that year, and the two of them were on stage together, and they did discuss some of the things in this book too, but I didn't really realize that they had collaborated on a book like this. I hadn't looked it up, because I've read You Can Heal Your Life, and I have the workbook of that, and I've read a couple of Cheryl's other books besides the Extreme Self-Care Challenge book, and also I listened on audio to Louise Haye, and I'm forgetting the gentleman that she wrote it with. It's You Can Heal Your Heart, and it's about grief, and there's some elements of dying as well. And actually, I'll mention that this book really covers a lot of topics, and death is in here as well. So how do you think, if you know anything about Louise, you probably know that she's really big into affirmations and positive thinking, and she has some things like it's only a thought and a thought can be changed. So how do you think that she would tell somebody to have an exceptional life? It makes sense that most of this book is about really turning your thoughts towards the positive, whether you're there or not. So I've talked to you guys before about affirmations in terms of feeling like I don't like to just try to pretend that I feel something. I don't necessarily subscribe to that feeling. Like, I like to pick a phrase that I can actually grab onto, and I might not be at the I love myself. I might be at every day I'm learning to love myself more, because that doesn't have like a rub like I love myself might have, where I'm not ready to say that yet. But in this book, of course, there is the concept of affirmations in this book as well. So we'll talk about that. There's actually some specific affirmations. I also figured that I would, every time I do a video when we're reading this book, that I'll pull an affirmation of the day from Louise Haye's wisdom deck as well. So those are really fun, and they have good messages and pretty artwork too. So you can look forward to an affirmation of the day. I won't have a video every day, but as I do the videos. So yes, it's about positive thinking. It's about changing your frame of mind. It's about even evaluating what your thoughts are, because you might not even be aware that you're really in a negative place in a lot of ways. And so when you become aware of those things and you can turn them around to the positive, that can make a big difference. So there's a lot of topics. Like I said, there's so many things I could talk about. So I'll have plenty to talk about. So this could take us through the fall, about, more than a month for sure. So there's an introduction by each of the ladies, and Louise talks more in her introduction about when it was proposed to her to write a book with Cheryl. She thought, how are we going to do this? What's the format going to be? How are we going to blend our writing styles together? And I think what happened, where they did this sort of interview style, and Cheryl would basically record their conversations, and then it was like a teacher and apprentice, and an apprentice sort of having a conversation about things. And even Cheryl writes in first person. She went home and she had experiences in most cases, and then when she meets with Louise again, she might be looking to her for something that's related to what they talked about the time before, or something that just happened in her life. So it's great. It is like a conversation. It's a very easy read. I mean, it's a small book in the number of pages. There's 151, but they're not even, this is not a huge book. So if you get your hands on it, I think it'll be really easy. It's not a huge undertaking to do it. So Louise says this to us: as you read this book chapter by chapter, you will notice your shoulders relaxing, your brow line smoothing out, and your tensions and fearlessness dissolving as you realize that there is a better way to live. It is the journey that brings pleasure, not the race to a destination. We love you and support you as you move on with us in this great new adventure towards an exceptional life. Isn't that nice? And then Cheryl, I'm going to read more of Cheryl's because I think it's really inspiring. There is a universal energy, Cheryl says, a divine force that creates us, sustains us, connects us to one another, and works in cooperation with our thoughts, words, and actions to generate our life experiences. When we recognize and learn to work with partnership with this benevolent power, we begin to become masters of our own destiny. So again, with the thinking being more positive, if you're looking to make changes in your life, this is me speaking, then that can be a profound power that we all have. So the formula is simple, she says. Think thoughts that make you feel good, make choices that make you feel good, and take actions that make you feel good. Then surrender the outcome, trusting that life will bring you what you need to grow and be happy. And she does go on to share some personal stories about how this way of living, even like when she met Louise, earlier in her life and started thinking about her teachings, it's had a huge effect on her. And again, she does a lot of personal sharing here. She has some affirmations in there as well. And she talks about the power of affirmations as well. So, and here's what she says, and this is actually, like I said, 2013 is when I saw them speaking. So I'm assuming that she's talking about this particular tour as well. While attending events through North America and Europe, Louise and I enjoyed a series of intimate heart-to-heart conversations about the spiritual principles that have shaped our lives. Although I've written the book from my point of view, it reflects our collaborative experience of talking about everything from loving ourselves and our bodies to the ways in which we've dealt with a variety of topics, including aging and in a dignified, peaceful approach to the end of our lives here on earth. So not only do they talk about living, but they do talk about going out with dignity. It is our sincere wish that these conversations inspire you to develop the spiritual habits that will support you in living an exceptional life. As you do, you'll soon discover what Louise and I know to be the most important universal truth of all. Life loves you. And you know what? Remember when I shared my affirmation deck with you guys last March in 2020? That is one of my affirmation cards. I love life and life loves me. Yeah. So, and there is a lot of undertone of a message of love in this book. And I'm going to be rereading it with you guys because I'm there in the Midas as I was waiting for my car to be inspected. So even as I looked through again to come up with some ideas for the topics for videos, I thought, I can't wait to read that in a more in-depth way and share some of the passages with you. So I think this is well timed. We had a nice summer of relaxing and taking some time off from the channel, and then now we can get back into why we're here, and that is to shine, right? And to be happier and have things to look forward to. So I always look forward to the videos, and I look forward to bringing this to the channel next. I hope you're here for the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, and we'll go ahead with this book, How to Create an Exceptional Life, with Cheryl Richardson and Louise Haye. Bye-bye.